Hello friends, welcome to TechnoPoints. In this video, we are going to learn about one of the most important component of Android, that is services. So services is basically a thing which can handle long running operation in our device. Either it may be background or in foreground. So there are basically three types of services. One is foreground, another one is background, and third one is a bound service. In this video, we are going to learn about foreground service and background service, then how to implement them practically, what are the do's and don'ts of the services, that all we are going to learn in this tutorial. So make sure you stay till the end of this video to grab the concept fully. Let's get started. So here I am in the new Android Studio project for our services implementation task. For that, I have just created two buttons here, one after the another. One is for start service and another is one is for stop service. So we'll click on start service and the service will get started, and we'll click on stop to stop it. So there are just two buttons here in the UI, and in the main activity there is nothing. We are going to code everything now. For the services, we need some separate class in which we will define all our code of the services. What our service will do, that will actually write in that class, and we'll extend the class from the services. So let's go to the package, right click and click on Kotlin new class. So you can name it as my service, and we'll extend this class from a service. We need to import this class. Make sure that you are importing from android.app, and later you need to implement one method, that is onBind. So this onBind method is needed when we are dealing with bound services, but as in this tutorial we are not going deep in the bound services. That is those type of services are required when we are binding some another component with this service. So that's where it comes into play, but in this tutorial we don't need this, so we are just returning the null value on this. Other than this one, we need to override one more function, that is on start command. So in this function, we'll be checking what the action in this intent object has, and according to that, we'll start and stop our service. So we'll create one another enumerable class, enum class. Let's say actions, and in these actions, we'll define two actions, that is start and stop. So these are just for declaration, because we should have consistency across our application. That's why we have created a separate actions class. Instead, we can use the raw strings as well. That will also work. But for the uh, for uh, canceling the possibility of typos, we are just doing this. Now in the onStart command, let's say when we have sorry when we have intent dot action. When we have intent dot action as actions dot start. So basically what we'll do, we also need to call onString function on this one as well. So what we'll do, we'll start this service by setting the action. Basically we'll create one intent, and we'll set the action inside that at start. So and launch that intent, and with the method start service. So when the compiler will come here, it will check if this intent dot action contains the action at the start, then it will come here and execute this code. So that means this is the place where we have to write what our service will do when we call start service. And similarly, we also need to stop the service when we uh, make the action as a stop. Instead of start, we will just make it as stop. So when the compiler will come here with the action as a stop, it will execute whatever written here. So for this stop function, we just need to add one sentence, that is stop self. So this is a function which we comes from service class, that by default stop the service. Just one function call is sufficient to stop the service. So what we will do, in example, we'll use the phone's ringtone as a service and make it loop until we end the service. So once we click on start service, the ringtone of the phone will start ringing, and it will stay until we stop the service. So this type of example we are going to implement. For that, let's create one object of a media player. media player, and that is also media player. Okay, this should be late init where, because we are going to initialize it here in the on start. There are few things that we need to consider. We need to initialize this in this start function itself, because if we initialize it here, then it won't work, and if we initialize it here as well, then also the service won't start. So make sure you will initialize only in the start action. So we are going to implement the things here, so we will create a separate function for that. Start my service, and let's create a separate function for this one. And yes, here we'll write well, sorry, media player equal to media player dot create. So we'll call this create function to create a media player. So this function takes two things. One is context, so we can pass this because we are inside the service. So and it is also one of the component of Android, so we can pass this. And later it needs a URI. So for the URI, we'll go to the settings dot system dot default ringtone URI. So this will return us will the whatever the default ringtone set in the phones, that URI this thing will return us. So our media player is now ready. So we can just call on this media player dot start here, when we click on start service. So we also need to set one more attribute, media player dot is looping. So what we are expecting, when the ringtone finishes after 5 to 10 seconds, after once it has completed all its iteration, but we also want that it should start again from starting. It should keep repeating itself. It should be in the loop. So that's why we'll mark it as is looping as true. So that is there, and yeah, that's it. And in the stop function, we are already calling the stop self, but uh, we also need to call media player dot stop, so that when we click on stop button, that's ringtone calling should also be stopped. So I think we are good with this my service class. We can set it as private. Yeah. And now we need to go to the manifest file, because whenever we create a new service, we need to register it in the manifest file. It is also one of the component of Android. So and activity is also one of the components. So as we declare all our activities here, we also need to declare service as well here. So service, we are getting the auto suggestion as my service. We just need to take that. That is good. And we are good with the and manifest file as well. So we are currently, yeah, implementing a background service. That's why these things are fine. So here we have come in the onCreate method. So we need to, what we need to do now, we need to, when user will click on the start service, we want to start the service, and we want to stop the service when we click on stop service. So just come here, find view by id, that is a button, r.id dot button start service dot set on click listener. And yes, I will copy the same code, and we'll replace the start with a stop. Here for starting the service, we need to create one intent. Well, intent equals to intent. So this intent takes two things. One is this activity, and another is uh, another thing. So which we want to initialize. So here we'll write our service class my service double colon class dot java. Now we need to set action explicitly in whenever we are starting the service, because when we launch this intent, it will go to this class, and it will come to this on start command method, and here it will come here, and it will check if the intent dot action is equal to start, then it will execute this code, and if it is stop, then it will execute this code. So that's why we'll do all the things similar in both of the cases. We'll just change the action. In this, we'll set intent dot action equal to actions dot start dot toString as well. Yeah, I mostly forgot about this toString. So I hope you are getting from where this actions or start is coming. So this actions is nothing but a enum class which we have created here. We can also use raw strings here, but it is better to create a separate class, enum class for this. Now we can just call on start service. So generally when we want to launch some another activity from one activity to another, we generally call start activity. But in this tutorial, as we are going to start the service, so that's why we need to call start service. And this start service takes one parameter as an intent which you have just created. That's it. This is the code required just for starting the service, and we'll copy the same code, paste it here, and we just have to change the start with the stop. Yeah, that's it. So I hope this is fine for the background service. And now let's start our application and see how it runs. And here my application is running, and I'll just click on the start service. And if you hear carefully, you will be able to hear the voice of this phone's ringtone, default ringtone. Just hear it for a few seconds. I hope you are clear with the sound. So I just click on stop service to stop this service. Yeah, the sound had been stopped. And I'll just click on start service, because we know that service don't need a UI. Service can run even if in the background. So I just click on this back button, and if you can hear, the sound is still playing. It is going looping in one by one. But what will happen if I kill the app from here? I cleared the app, but the service has stopped. But we expect that the service should continue even if we close or kill our app. That is not the thing with background service, because background service are meant to live as long as the application is running and it is not killed. So once the application is closed, service will automatically stop. So this is the most disadvantages of background service. You can run this service when the application is running, but when the application is stopped, this service will also stop. And even if you are pressed the back button, and sometimes if the CPU is if the RAM is not not such free, then it might automatic Android system might automatically close your service. So that is the risk for in this background service. So for what we should do, if we want the service to be continuing even after we close and kill our app also. So there is one solution, that is a foreground service. With the foreground service, even if we close our application, then the service will continue even if we have we don't have our application is running. That is the advantage of our foreground service. And as long as the foreground service is running, all the classes in our code has been instantiated. If there are some view models, they have already instance in our memory. And uh, for the Android system, it is not likely to kill the service in any circumstances if we are running a foreground service. But just one difference of the foreground service from background service is that in the foreground service, we need to let the user know that this service is running, and that is with the help of notification. So we need to show the notification as long as our foreground service is running, to make sure that user should be notified about this service is running. So that is the most concern, and that is the most important thing about foreground service. We'll also see how to implement foreground service in this tutorial also. So let's see how we can convert this existing background service to the foreground service. So for this, first thing we have to do, let's go to my service class, and we have just started a media player here. But for the foreground service, we have a special function inside this service class, that is start foreground. And this start foreground function takes two parameters. One is id and second one is notification. As I have just told, foreground service needs a notification to be displayed when till the service is running. So we need to create a notification, and before creating a notification, we need to create a notification channel for the devices which are running Android system uh, at least O and above. For all of that, we need to create a notification channel. So for this, we'll create a separate class that will extend from application. That is my application. This and we'll implement we'll extend this from application, and this application class will instantiate instantiate the I mean this will be the first class which get instantiated when we start our application. So in the on start method, sorry, on create method, we are going to initial create the notification channel. For that, let's create val channel equal to notification channel, and this takes two parameters. One is id, that is the id of notification, notification channel. So we need to use the same id here and in the our notification object as well. My channel, here I am hard coding, but you can preferably use string constants here, so that to avoid the typo, and if we make some typing mistake here, and the name will change here and the notification object, and our channel will not be created. Another parameter we need to add is our name. That is, it is a name of the notification channel. What this notification will do, this will be displayed to the user. So we can just write my notification channel, or we can also write my service, my foreground service notification. We don't need to write channel. And the third parameter is priority. So we can just state a priority normal, that we get from notification manager dot, sorry, importance default. So that is fine. Now we need to create the object of notification manager equal to notific get system service, and what this system service will be, context dot notification service, because notification is also service. So we need to declare that here. Get system service, this is a function, will get a system service for us, and which type of service we want, we are passing that context dot notification service, this service instance we want, and we need to typecast it as a notification manager. Now we need to pass this created channel to this notification manager. So we can just click on notification manager dot create notification channel and pass this channel. So that's it. This code will create our channel, but this error is saying because we need to surround it with this code. Now, as I have just told that notification channels are only required if the Android version is greater than or equal to Android O, this Oreo. So we'll just change some alignment. Uh, well, channel. We'll rub the else case, and we'll cut these both statements from here and paste here. Okay, that's fine. If SDK version is greater than or equal to O, then only this code will be executed and the channel will be created. Otherwise, this won't execute because there is no need for channel. So that is our task with my application. So I am just closing this class because we don't need to edit anything in this. And here in our my service, in our start my service class function, we need to create a notification. Well, let's create this notification equal to notification compat dot builder. This is the same thing that we do in our while building a notification. One is id, that is notification id. The sorry, not id, we need just the context here. So for the context we can just pass this, and for further this needs a channel id. So channel id we need to set the same as what we have defined in the uh, application class, that is my channel. My application class is here. I'll copy this id, this guy id should be the same, and I'll paste it here. So that is the thing. And now I'll again click on dot set dot set small icon. This is the icon which we need to show on the notification. R dot drawable dot IC launcher foreground. So you can see the icon came here. This will be the icon which will be shown in the notification. Now also dot set content title. This will be a notification title. So I'll set it as foreground service. And here is an again set content text. So this is a subtitle in the notification. So we can just copy it from here and write as foreground service is running. And we also need to do one thing. We need to call one function again. This is set ongoing. So and this function makes our notification non-dismissible, so that as long as our service is running, user should not be able to wipe out our application. So we are setting this as true, and we'll call just build. So our notification object is built, and this start foreground object takes two parameters. First one is a notification id. So for the id we can use anything, like let me pass it 1001 here, and another is a notification object that we are passed, and that is start foreground service. This will create start our service in the foreground by displaying a notification. But for displaying a notification, we know that from the Android version T, that is Android version 13, API level 33 and above, we need to take a runtime permission from user in order to show notification to him or her. So for that, we need to go to main activity and request the notification permission here. So here I am writing in the onCreate method itself, activity compat dot request permissions. This takes a three parameters. First one is an activity, so we can just pass this. Another one is a permissions array, so we will write array of, and here we will pass our permission of post notifications manifest dot permission dot uh, make sure that you have passed you are using the manifest from Android. So here if I look here, it is using from my package, so I don't need this one. Instead I need to import the notification sorry manifest here, import android dot manifest. So now it is using the manifest in the Android package, and manifest dot permission dot, here we can see post notifications. This is only permission we required, and as we are writing it here, we also need to declare the post notification permission here as well. Use this permission post notification, and as we are running the foreground service also, we need to uh, declare foreground service as a permission. So this foreground service is a normal permission, and post notification is a danger permission from Android version 13 and above. So we need to ask runtime for this, but not for this. This is normal permission. So I am coming back to here main activity, and the third parameter it required. The third parameter is a request code. So this request code is only required when we are handling what happens when the user accepts or denies our uh, permission block. So here I am just passing a simple any integer value. We can pass any value here in the request code 200, and we can use the same value to catch and check which permission user have accepted and which ones have denied, and then we can act accordingly. This the aim of this tutorial is not to go deeper into the request permissions. I have another tutorial of the on the permission which shows a very fantastic and easy way to deal with runtime permissions. You can find the link at the top of this video, also in the description box also, so you can just watch it. And here we are getting some warning. So what it says, post notification is only required when we are when our version is less than or greater than or equal to Android 13. So we'll just click alt enter here and surround this with SDK int. This is tiramisu, so basically a T and API version 33 you can see here. So only there this code will execute and it will request for the runtime permission, otherwise it won't. So that is the thing. We are good with this. Now go to service class. Let's check if everything is fine here. Yes, I think everything is fine. And let me go to the manifest file. We have already declared the master service here. We have also added the permissions here, and I think we are now good with our implementation of the foreground service. Now let's click on this start running our application and see how our application behaves. And yes, our application has been launched, and as soon as it's launched it is asking for the notification permission. So I just click on allow this. So now our application is able to show the notification. So I just click on the start service. Our application has been stopped. Let's check what things we have missed. Bad notification for store foreground. Okay, this means we have missed one thing. We have declared the my application class, but we have to declare it in the application tag also in the Android manifest. So we have forgotten that. That's why that error came. Android.name equal to my application. Now our application will run. Now it will create the instance of notification channel, and now hopefully everything will work fine. My application is running, and yes, let me click on start service. Yeah, you can hear the ringtone has started, and for the notification it takes few seconds on the first time to display it. Yeah, notification is also displayed. You can just see the notification from here. Oh, this is some problem of the emulator. Okay, you can see foreground service, and foreground service is running. So this is the same thing we have declared here. You can see foreground service, there is a title, foreground service is running, that is a subtitle. Now I just click on back. This application is closed, and now I go to here and clear this kill this app from here. But even if the app is killed, you can still hear the sound of ringtone. That is, the service is running in the background. It is still running even if you closed and killed the application from the recent apps also. Still this service is running. If we see, notification is here and notification is non-dismissible. We have set this attribute set ongoing as a true, so that's why notification is non-dismissible, and we want this type of behavior when we are dealing with the some foreground service. So when user sees this in the notification, user came to know that the application is this application is running a foreground service. So we can just start this application again. So you can just observe that here a small dot it is showing because this application is running some service in the foreground. So we can just open this application and we can just click on stop service, and yes, it has stopped. So the ringtone also stopped and the notification also automatically dismissed as well. Notification also not is there. Yeah, so this is how we deal with the foreground service. Foreground service benefits us in a lot of ways, and it is always recommended to use the foreground service for any of our long running tasks and to get the assurity of our application of our service will run. So few things I need to discuss here before we log off for the day. One thing I have already discussed, that we need to initialize the media player instance here itself. not here and not here as well. And another thing that I want to discuss is, let me show you that practically. I click on start service here, ringtone started once. But what happens if I click again on the start service? You can hear something jumbling here. I click again. Okay, the notification has been fired again. The ringtone is again started. So these three ringtones are running one by one themselves. So it doesn't mean that when we click on start service, it continues with the last service. No, it creates a new instance and it's run simultaneously. So this jumbling sound we are hearing, that's because three different ringtones are running simultaneously in some service. And if we click on stop service here, the application gets crashed. This type of bad behavior can happen. So one thing we can do to fix this. So let's continue with me to see what we can do to avoid this behavior. So basically, I am into main activity. This, if we hover on the start service, so this start service class gives us something called as component name. So whenever the start service class is called, we get back a component name from it. So we can use this, check this component name. If that is null, then the service is not running, and if that is not null, then we can see, then we can consider that service is already running, and we will not be creating a second instance of it even if user clicked on that. So this is the thing we can do, and we can take a help of shared preferences in those. So even if we close our class, shared preferences have their space in our memory, so we can store that. So for that, let's do one thing. While starting the service, we are checking for the shared preferences. We are creating a shared preference instance in the onCreate method itself. Well, prefs equal to get shared preferences, and this takes two parameters. First one is a name. Okay, I'll name it as my prefs, and second one is a context dot mode private. Basically, this is the mode which we generally use for the shared preferences. And now we can check before initializing this start service. When user clicked on this, you can get an editor, well, editor, or we can just check first if prefs dot get string, let's say, will be component name, and its default value will be null. If we'll check if this value from the preference is null, then we'll start the service. And once we start the service, we'll take one editor, val edit editor equal to prefs dot edit, editor dot put string. So what we are doing when this, where we'll check if the preference shared preferences contains something in the key, something, if this preferences has some key named this one, and if that contains a value, and or null. If it contains a null, that means we are not running any instance of this service, and we are just starting the service. And when we have start the service, we, what we are doing next, we are creating some editor in the shared preferences to put the value of the component name. We'll get the value from this start service component name. Let's say service component name, service component name, and we'll put this value here. Put string service component name and dot to string, and we'll assign that with the key, that is component name itself, component name. Yes. So what this will do, if this value is null, then it will start the service, and the service start service function will give back with the service component name, and this service component name we are saving in the stored shared preferences. We are just calling the editor dot apply so that these changes will be saved in our preferences. This is the thing we are doing, and we'll check in the stop service. We'll run is only if preferences will basically copy the same condition. If preferences is not null, then only we are going to call the stop service. And once we have stopped the service, we will be clearing the shared preferences because we don't want to the value to be written here. So that's why we have copied the same code here, and in place of this it will be editor dot clear, so that this will clear all the everything in the shared preferences, and our value will also go away. So let's check how this works in our application. So I'm going to launch my application again, and I'll click on start service. Service has been started. Notification will also appear in few seconds. Yeah, notification appeared. So I just clicked. Oh, sorry, I stopped the project itself. So I'll just click on the start service. Okay, ringtone has been started. Application will notification will appear in few seconds. Yeah, notification appeared. I'll click on back, and now kill the application here. Okay. And our service is still running. Yeah, our service is running. Now I'll open the application again, and will again try to click on the start service. But even if I have clicked a few times, 2 to 3 times, but still a new instance of the service is not creating because we are using now shared preferences, and the shared preferences already contains the value of this component name which our service has written. Now I just click on stop services. So stop services will clear all the preferences value. So if we want to see this in a device explorer, we can just click on device explorer. We can see here is preferences, data, and we need to search for our package name, Android services, Android services. Yeah, and we can just click on share prefs, my prefs. If I double click on this one, yeah, you can see there is one string in our share preferences file. There is component name, and this is component name, this package name, and followed by whole service name. Now when I create the stop click on the stop service, uh, okay, let me show you this how it is working. It comes here. If share preferences has it is not null, then it doesn't come in this scope, and the service doesn't get started. And as I click on the stop service, you can hear that service has been stopped and notification is also gone. So the service is basically stopped. And if we clicked here, it came here. It in our button stop service on click listener, it checked if the shared preferences value of respect to this key is not null, and it came inside this if condition and started the service with this intent that it stopped the service, and we have cleared the shared preferences. So we can also check again the file of shared preferences, and if we double click on this one, we are not able to see any entry here in the preferences file. So this is how our code is working. So this is how we can deal with services in our Android. I have tried my best to explain with practical examples how the background service and how to create a foreground service as well. If you have still doubts, then you can put your question in the comment box below. I will try my best to answer those. If you like this video, then please click on like, share with your friends, and subscribe to this channel to get such more interesting videos of the trending topics. We'll meet in the next tutorial with some another interesting Android concept. Till then, goodbye, happy coding.